Okay, so several people have asked my opinion on this and they wanted me to do this video. So here it is. This is my review of the AJ Ruiz gloves are off for the rematch. Now, in the lead up to this fight, I've seen several interviews with AJ, I want to say over the past 2 weeks, where he's looked very uncomfortable in the interview. His body language and all that stuff, looking very uncomfortable. Now, at the time, I thought he looks nervous, but on reflection, I'm wondering whether he's just maybe agitated, he's in fight mode, he's not really in the mood to sit down with a bunch of journalists back to back and answer the same questions over and over again. So who knows? But what I can tell you is after watching this episode of The Gloves Are Off, to me, AJ looked calm, confident, sure of himself. I was looking out for any signs that he may be nervous in front of Andy Ruiz or concerned. I didn't see it. To me, this was the most confident I've seen AJ in the lead up to this fight. Now, it has to be said that this occurred several weeks ago. Might even been a couple months ago when this Gloves Are Off was filmed. And as such, this was before a lot of the sparring sessions. So hypothetically, let's say he was confident at this point, sitting in front of Andy Ruiz. We've heard stories of him being hurt again in sparring. So is it a situation where he was confident here, but then afterwards he did several weeks of sparring where he got hurt and things weren't going well, and then after that he didn't feel as confident, and that's when he appeared in the various interviews like with ITV, BBC, etc., looking nervous and pensive. Who knows? But for my money, he looked very confident in front of Andy Ruiz here. You could see the fire in his eyes. His face looked different than the first fight. He definitely looks to have slimmed down in the face. Again, this was several weeks ago. Maybe he's put the weight back on. I don't know. But at this point, his face looked different. You could see the fire in his eyes, and he was talking confidently. There was a moment where Andy Ruiz said, I think AJ quit a little bit in the first fight. And AJ at first kind of held his composure, but then he started appearing a little agitated by what Andy Ruiz had said. And he said, why would I get up though? If I was going to quit, why would I get up? And as I say, he also said, I'm good, and when you're good, you don't worry about things and so on and so forth. He was just using very positive language. Now, there was somebody in my group the other day who said that their interpretation of AJ in this Gloves Are Off was the opposite of mine. They thought he looked very nervous, pensive, unsure of himself. Other people say they think he was mentally cracking in this Gloves Are Off. The one particular guy said that he was using, what did he say? Weird phrases and empty analogies, or maybe the other way around, weird analogies and empty phrases. Well, I don't think you've listened to a lot of Anthony Joshua interviews in the past, because he always talks like that. I've mentioned it in videos that Anthony Joshua has this weird way of talking where he gives these awkward analogies and it's just weird. AJ's always been like that. You go back and look at some of his best performances. Go look at the Gloves Are Off for that. Same thing. Go look at many of his interviews he's done over the years for various different media outlets. Same thing. He has this weird way of talking. He's always had that. So that is not indicative of him being nervous or anything like that. Not at all. And I've always been somebody who's good when it comes to reading people, when it comes to reading their body language and, getting a feel for how they're feeling mentally, especially fighters. And I detected virtually no nervousness at all in Anthony Joshua in this face-off. And I think one of the reasons is because Andy Ruiz doesn't have an intimidating persona. I think that AJ was sat at a table here at his Gloves Are Off looking at Ruiz thinking, how the hell did I lose to this guy? Because Ruiz is not a guy who tries to intimidate you. He's not a guy who tries to stare you down and, say horrible things about you to try and put you on the defense. That's not what Andy Ruiz is like. He's actually a really polite guy. Some people think he's maybe trying to, pull off the same trick that they think he pulled off first time, which is playing Mr. Nice Guy to try and draw Anthony Joshua into a full sense of security. But I don't know. I don't think so, because AJ's fallen for that once. If it was a trick first time around, he's not going to fall for it again. So, that is what that is. But as I say, I think AJ was just sat in front of him thinking, how did I let this guy beat me? That was the vibe I was getting from AJ in this Gloves Are Rough. Yeah. So, again, this was, I think, a couple months ago. His mindset may have changed now after camp. Might have been a bad camp. Might have got hurt. I don't know. And then that might make him feel nervous. But as he was right here, he was A-okay. Yeah, he was A-okay. So, yeah, that's just my brief thoughts on AJ Ruiz, the Gloves Are Rough. A lot of the time, people will project what they imagine he's thinking onto situations like this. They'll read too deeply. They'll start seeing things which are not actually there. Okay? I have watched Anthony Joshua since he was an amateur. I've seen all of the Gloves Are Off he's been involved in. I've seen probably every interview he's ever done on YouTube. I've noted the fact that he has this weird way of talking before. And what I saw here was not a nervous AJ at all. This was a confident guy, and a guy who was hell-bent on revenge, actually. That's what I saw in AJ's eyes. He just looked like he had a devil in him. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm sure some of you have a different interpretation, and we'll find out, where AJ's at ultimately on Saturday night, mentally. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm out.